And so he agreed to come on stage at Thanksgiving 1974 and play with us at Madison Square Garden. And it was probably the greatest night of my professional career because I remember how the audience reacted because he hadn't been on stage in New York since Shea Stadium. He hadn't done a show up to that point except the Peace concert in Toronto with Yoko. And he was physically sick before he came on because he was so nervous. Yoko came to the show before and gave him a gardenia, which he wore.
Having been a member of one of the most popular rock bands of all time, you'd think that John Lennon would have been pretty confident in terms of feeling accepted by audiences. Not so according to John Lennon himself and many people who knew him well. In an interview from 1964 in Twickenham Studios, when they were filming Hard Day's Night, there were some fans girls who got to ask questions. One girl asked John Lennon why he didn't wear glasses on stage, and he said he would lose his nerves if he could see everyone in the audience. When Lennon played the Toronto Rock and Roll Revival with his hastily assembled Plastic Ono band in 1969, he threw up before going on stage because of his nerves.
We got this phone call from Toronto on a Friday night that there was a rock and roll revival show in Toronto with 100,000 audience or whatever it was, and that Chuck was going to be there and Jerry Lee was going to be there and all the great rockers that were still living, and Bo Diddley, and supposedly the Doors were top of the bill. And that's all we could do, and we went on. We were so nervous because we didn't know what we were doing.
Also, John said that while he didn't actually have stage fright when joining Elton John at a famous Madison Square Garden concert, he got a severe case of it while in the audience at Elton's Boston show, which he'd attend to psych himself up for the New York guest appearance. He'd spent thousands of hours on stage, but he'd never spent any time with anyone but the Beatles. He'd always looked to his right and seen the same faces. George felt much the same, although all of them took every opportunity to describe what they had created as just a band. At the same time, they had great faith in the power of that band's brand and worried that people would not accept them as readily if they were out on their own. John Lennon would suffer some nerves before facing a live audience, and all the bravado and sometimes nasty statements are all covering up his own fragility. There's many well-known established singers who wrangled audiences for years and did hundreds of live shows, admitted to having stage nerves and fright and would vomit before going on stage.
Hello. That was Ringo, folks.
Well, what can I say?
And goodbye to all of them. Well, this is Ringo. Everyone seems to have said everything here, so I'll just sign off by saying cheerio and best of luck from the Beatles.